Hi there, if you're a sound designer looking for a tool to help you work faster, get more done, and just be more efficient with your time as you are working, then this is the video for you. In this video, I'm going to share with you the Stream Deck. I'm going to talk about how I set it up and how I use it inside of Reaper to basically be more efficient. I'm going to also touch a little bit about how I use it as well inside of RX by Isotope. So if you want to see that, we'll talk about that in this video. So let's get right into it. All right, so here we are inside of Reaper, and here's the Stream Deck. And as you can see here, basically, you have 32 keys. There also is one with 15 keys and one with 6 keys. I highly recommend starting with a 15-key one if you're just starting out. I upgraded because this was so valuable to me in my work that I now have a 32-key. But basically what this is a macro pad. So basically you can hit a button and then it'll do a macro that you assign it to. So this could be anything from, like, let's say I have a macro here where I want to cut, and right in here. Well, instead of memorizing and remembering exactly what I have to press on my keyboard to cut here, I can just assign it to a key, press the key, and then it'll cut right there, right? But this can be assigned to anything, and what's also great about this is that it can also house folders, and it can have folders within folders. So basically you have like unlimited amount of keys. So I can go inside of a folder here that I have already set up here, and you can see I'm not even using all the keys in here just because I have so many. But yeah, so this is what you can do. So yeah, if you want to use it to open up websites, open up apps, open up folders on your computers, drives, whatever it is, it can all do that with the push of a button. If you want to do macros or like sequences of macros, you can do that. Control your mouse, you can do that. If you want to do multi actions, it can do that. If you want to trigger so that the first time you press a button it does one action, and then the second time you press a button that does a different action or different set of actions, it can also do that. There's so much it can do in here, and this is not going to be an in-depth video about what it can do, but I just want to show you basically how I use it for my sound design work. So let's just jump right into that right now. All right, so for the Stream Deck, what you can do is you actually have different profiles that you can assign to different software or different applications that you have on your computer. So this is my Reaper application here that I've selected, and this is my profile for my Reaper application. And the way that I like to set it up and to organize my files is at the very top, I like to have my folders. So I have it set up for different things that I'm working on. So for example, if I'm rendering out files, I have my render folder up here. If I'm doing working with Midi, I have my Midi folder here where I have all my Midi macros or shortcuts that I want to use when I'm working with Midi. For audio, I have them all in here when I'm working with audio. If I'm doing like track stuff, like I want to change colors, I want to add new tracks, add instrument tracks, whatever, or put a group of tracks together into a folder track, this is all done in here. I also have some other folders here that I don't really go into, so I actually don't use this very much. I usually use that to like kind of try out different combination of keys if I want to try them out. Same thing with my miscellaneous folder up here. I don't use it too much, but I do have some stuff in there that sometimes I go to. And then here I have my plugins, and this I use quite a lot. So I have a lot of my kind of go-to plugins that I have that I like. So I'll have kind of a set in there. And what I could also do is have like another folder where I have maybe all the stock plugins, or stuff like that. So right now it's just set up to the ones that I use the most, so that I don't have to like click on a track and then go in here and then try to find exactly the one I like, go down and press enter. Like all of that can be done at the click of a button. If I just go in here, click on manipulator, there you go. I have my effect pulled up on the track right there. So that's what that plugin folder is for. Yeah, after that, at the very bottom down here, I have all of my transport controls. So fast forwarding, play, reverse, looping, stuff like that, recording. So all of that is at the bottom, and that always kind of stays there. And then after that here, I have like open files in Explorer. So this is just, I have like extra, this is an extra button that I usually swap out depending on what I'm working on. That's the last one that I was working on, is in here. After that, I have different buttons that I use for that I use most often as part of my work. So you'll see here I have NVK Create. So NVK Create, I use this often. If you've seen my videos, you've probably seen me working with this, where I can like search for files. I can layer sound effects together really quickly with that. So I always have that here. And if I'm doing like a certain type of sound effect, let's say I'm doing like a whoosh, like that, and I want to create 30 variations of 5 different layers each, then I've mapped out that I can open NVK Create. I can also hit replace so that it replaces all of the sample files that it comes out with here. And then I also have 2 other things here. One is my cycle marker, and the reason why I have that here is because I usually like to export by cycle marker. So let's say I have this one here that I like. I can just select them, put a cycle around it, a region around it, sorry, and then I can just export by region. So if I can listen through the ones I like. Let's say I like that one, and then maybe one more like this one. Now I can just go into my export and then start exporting these and then renaming them the way I want. So that's what this cycle is for. Normally that is just inside of my export section, but for now I also have it here because I just use it so often. Right after that, I have my render blocks. So for render blocks, I have a few settings. One is I can render all, basically, so I'll select all and then render block everything. This is normally when I have a blank session though, so it's not working right now. But if not, I will just grab, let's say, a selected file here. I can do select individual and put those into a block. So all the ones that I just selected here in a block, I can do the same thing down here, put it into a block here, put it into a block. And now these are all into a blocks here. So now I can kind of move these together. So I can do that like that. A few other things that I have here is NVK loop. This is to make loops really quickly if you have longer files that you want to loop, usually for like ambiances. And then I have LKC variator on here. This I have to basically be able to create variations really quickly. I've also assigned keys for my variation that I've saved under number 2 and 3. So for these two different formulas, different variations, what I can do now is I can just grab, let's say this, put my my marker around that, and then I can just hit number 2, and then it's just going to apply that setting to those files. So now I have a new variation like that. So it's really easy to just grab and go, quickly create variations, and yeah, that's it. So after that, I have NVK a Doppler here. So if I'm ever working on whooshes, I can do that. And then I have close all windows. So if ever I'm working with effects and I just have a bunch of windows open and I just want to close everything at once, I just can close all windows with that button. If I want to open my effect windows here, so it's going to open my effect windows and I can see all my effects here. And this is also useful if I have something like a face plant here or some sort of synth or something like that. I can just do that. Again, I can hit close when I'm ready to close it. And then if I'm done exporting my sounds, I just don't want these regions or something, I can just delete all these regions and now they're all gone. Right, so these are just the buttons that I use the most. So I've kind of set them up that way where I have my transport controls at the bottom. I have NVK create and render blocks on my second line, LKC variator on my third line, and then open close. And that's basically it. After that is my folders at the top. So yeah, so these are like the main controls that I use most of the time. All right, let's go into like each of these individual folders here, and let me kind of quickly show you how I've set it up. So just to give you some ideas, and maybe you can take some of what I have here, maybe apply to your own workflow the way that you like to work. And then after that, I'm going to show you just some individual use cases, some design workflows that I actually use specifically with this Stream Deck that just makes some sound design processing really quick and easy. All right, so for exporting, here I have, again, cycle markers. So if I just want to grab this and I say I want to export this sound effect, I can do that. I have my export button here, which I can export right away. After that, you'll see here that I have, what I normally do is I'll load up my preset here. So I'm just going to do that right now. All right, so this is like a generic kind of preset that I have for myself where I'm going to export based on regions, right? So I'm going to export based on my region. So now I can go search for the file name. All right, let's say I was doing this file name here. All right, so let's say I was doing this. I'm going to put it in this folder here, and I've selected the file names that are in that folder. So now what I can do is I can add file name up here, and what it does is it's just going to add the file number because I usually will add numbers at the end of my files inside of my own personal library. That's just the way I do it. So I do that right now, just like that. After that, I can just hit render and export, and that's normally what I do. So I have 1, 2, 3. These first 3 buttons is just to export, just like that. If ever I have other more complicated stuff, what I could do is, so for example, let's say I have, I just want to export these files, just the top layers. I could do this, which adds render regions to all of these layers here, and I could just export those. I'm just going to delete that right here. I could also normalize events. So this is just going to normalize, like let's say this was way down like this. I could hit normalize, and it's just going to bring the volume all the way back up, the amplitude back up for the file. If I have a long file that has quite a bit of silence in it, I might remove silences in that file. So it'll just cut out whatever is silent. So that's what this button here is for. So they're just like quick workflows that help me whenever I'm exporting, just to export really quickly and cleanly the sounds that I want. After that, all of these are just like text that I can add. So for example, here it's the file number again. Here I can add the region. Let's say I just want the name of the region, so I can do that there. Here, the name of the track, I'll add that there. Sometimes I'll add that, or I'll append that at the end of a track name, depending on the project and what I'm doing, right? So they're just things like that. Here you have your UCS renaming tool, so this will open up the renaming tool, and that's pretty much it. The rest of this, I don't use too much. It just depends on the kind of project that I'm working on, where I have like here my region manager where I might want to open that up, or region render matrix where I might want to open those up. So I have these kind of shortcuts set up so that these are all things I would do when I'm exporting, but basically this is how I have it set up. All right, next for MIDI, they're pretty simple. If I have like a MIDI file, which I like, let's say we go in here, I can open up so I can see the different MIDI information that I have in here, the different CC lanes. So right now it's just velocity, but if I had like CC and pitch and whatever else in here, it would open up all these lanes, or I can show all the lanes or hide all the lanes. I can quantize my MIDI notes here really quickly. I can set how much quantization I want for each. Like here's like -60 milliseconds of quantization, here -80. I can open up my instrument from here, just like that. I can do some step input, which basically means that if I want to just add a note here, I can it'll be like right on the grid, right? So just like that. I can cycle through the grid values, which you can see up here. So depending on the tempo that I'm going for, I can just do that right there. And that's pretty much it. So this is a quick one. I don't use it too much. And I also have my MIDI multi-tool up here. Yeah, so that's it for MIDI. It's pretty simple. For audio here, I have a few things that I really like. One is I've kind of recently started doing this, so I don't have much experience with it, but one of the things that I've started to do is fade to cursor. So basically my fade into cursor, so I can just put, let's say I'm selecting this file here, and I'm putting the cursor right there. It's going to fade into that to the cursor there, and then if I want to fade out, let's say I want to fade out to there. So this is great. Let's say I don't like that. Maybe I want to fade it out more. I can do like that. And then also what's good about it is this fade in and fade out shape. If I want to change it, I can do that with these buttons here. So now I can, let's say I want to change it like that, and I want to change the fade in shape like that. Now I can have like a smoother, cleaner fade in shape, which is a lot quicker or easier perhaps than trying to get the exact place where I have to right click on the fade here and then kind of choose the one I want. Here it's just simple, click on the item, kind of scroll through the different shapes that I want, and then I can just put it where I want. So I've kind of been experimenting with that recently, and it's been kind of working well. So I think I'm going to be keeping that. But yeah, fading in and fading out to the cursor is really great for like really quick edits like that. After that, I have a few things here. This is to show like track automations on all projects. So I can do that with this second button here. This first button is just for this individual tracks that I have selected, which none of these have. But so here you can see like any automation that I have from my effects, my insert effects, from volume or anything. It's going to show all of my automations from all the tracks on my project. So that's what I have here. A few other things here. I have select all on track. So this is going to select all the items on my track. I have place track events at start. So this should... Yeah, I think I've updated this one, so I need to update it. But this should be putting all of my events at the beginning, like at the very beginning of my track. So basically, it would grab this and it would just put it right at the beginning, so everything goes straight to the beginning of my project, just to keep everything kind of clean. That's what I had it there for, but I don't really use that anymore. And that's about it. So a lot of these are kind of repeat from other folders that I have, like removing silences, which we already talked about. I do have effects. Item effects. So if ever I want to add an effect to a specific layer or group of layers, so let's say I just want to add an effect to this one, I want to pitch it down. Well, I can select group effects, and let's say now I can like search up a specific kind of plugin that I want to insert. Maybe I want this one here, and I can insert that in with this preset. The other thing I could do is go into my plugin, select this specific effect I want, and then maybe I already have a preset, a plugin that I know I want to use, and then I can just use that there and use my plugins folder to load that right there. So there's kind of two ways that I go about doing that. And then I also have like, here, move this item to a new track, add or remove gap between silences. So just like little things that I'd like to do for my workflow. There's nothing that's like kind of groundbreaking here, but that just some quick ideas and things that I do that kind of really help to speed up my workflow. If I know I'm working with audio, I'll probably go in here and I can start quickly editing stuff that way. So for tracks, normally for tracks here, I can add a new audio track if I need to here at the bottom. I can select all the tracks on my project. I can add an instrument track if I'm doing some sort of musical thing. I can also, the one I use it the most for is to add new groups folder track. So I'll grab all my tracks here that I have together, move this to a new folder track, and now I have a new folder up here for housing all of these other tracks down below. So that's what I use it for. I also have like mute, unmute tracks, or mute and hide tracks. That's what I have here. Again, some of them are kind of redundant, like remove silences again. I kind of use that a lot, so I keep it in there. Closing all windows, coloring tracks. So if I want to change the color, I can do that here. And then if I have items on this track like this that are different colors, like let's say I move that up here and it was a different color, I can just say item to color track, and then it's going to keep it green. Bad example here because they're all green, but hopefully you get the idea. All right, so that's basically the majority of my sounds here. I just want to show you a few other little nuggets here that I have for my sound design stuff. So let's say I have all these sounds here. What I have set up here in this miscellaneous folder is my shuffle audio track, and this basically shuffles all of these sounds together. It kind of like mixes them up in random locations. So this is kind of cool, except that then it kind of spaces them apart. So what I do here is I also have reposition items so that they're only 1 second apart. So now you can see here they're just 1 second apart. Now normally I don't use it in this way here like this. So now you can still see like they're all kind of very distant. Normally what I'll have is I just have a few sounds that I layer at the beginning, or like maybe I'll have all of these sounds here. So I'm just going to grab all of these here. I'm going to press shuffle so they all kind of shuffle, and then add them all so that they're 1 second apart. And then I would have them all so that they kind of go to the beginning of my track here, and then, or the beginning of my project here. So something like this. And then what I can do now is I can play through all of these different kind of weird layers and see how they line up and how they kind of interact with each other, which would be something I wouldn't have thought of before. Right, kind of like that. So that's what this is doing here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So after that, I have some other ones here where I have in my other folders here, I have stuff like where I open up, again, LKC Variator, NVK Create. I can change the speed of the tempo of my project. I can open up Envy by Cargo Cult, right? So it's just opening up different programs or doing different things, but I don't use these very much. The core of my work is going to be in here, and it's going to be in my audio track plugins, and then like my export. But this is how I have it set up. Then one more thing I want to show you that I think is pretty cool and efficient for sound design. Let's say you have something like an effect that you want, like such as manipulator here. Let's say I have this effect here, and I want to like mess around with the pitch or the format here, and I want that to be kind of assigned to a parameter. Well, inside of Reaper, you have the Reaper parameter modulation, so I have that assigned to a hotkey. Now what I can do is here on my Stream Deck, I have this button, which what it will do is assign it to an LFO, and then a random LFO at a certain speed, and then make it center positioned. And now it's already assigned. So I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to move my mouse or anything. Everything got assigned, and now it's already assigned to this kind of LFO. So now if I had a sound effect or a sound going through that, this would automatically be applying and randomizing that effect on here. So that's another one that I like. So if anything, it could be. I really use this for almost anything. Let's say I had this spectrum parameter here that I really like. Again, open up the parameter modulation, hit my button, and there you go. Now you can already see on here, I have my spectrum is being modulated now by a random LFO, right? So any parameter that I want to modulate, this is the way I normally do it. If I want to randomly modulate it, I don't need to have it. It doesn't need to be have a random parameter modulation within the plugin. I can do it within Reaper, so that's a cool way of doing it. Right, and that's basically it. So being able to have it set up this way, I'm able to like just play through sounds really quickly. I'm able to I don't have to memorize like certain hotkeys. Some of them I do. Some of them I have memorized already to my keyboard. But all the other ones that I want, they're all here on my Stream Deck, and they're all ready to go. And it's just a lot easier and quicker to work this way. So now, what I think we can do is I'll show you how I have it set up inside of RX, so you can see another workflow that you could use if you're working inside of something like RX or maybe some other audio software. All right, so here we are inside of RX, and just to kind of quickly show you some of my workflows for here. Again, here I have different folders, as you can see at the top, for my different workflows. If I'm working exporting, if I'm doing sound effects, voiceover, or music. Most of the time, because I work mostly in sound effects, I'll usually just go in sound effects just because I know this page so well that I end up using it for pretty much everything. But yeah, this is my page for that. For RX, and here I have a few things. One is usually when I'm editing different sound effects, I have multiple tabs. So right now I have one tab, but if I had different sound effects, I would have multiple tabs of sound effects. So let me show you. So it might look like something like this, where you can see I have multiple tabs at the top here, and now what I can do is I can just click next tab, next tab, next tab, and it's just going to go to my different sound effects really, really quickly, right? So after that, I have here select everything. So it selects everything. I have my play bar, play and pause. If I have a certain selection I want to keep, like this one, I just have a button here, and it just keeps that selection, and that's it. Now, if I wanted to just export this selection that I just took here, this 3 seconds, I just export that, and it's ready to go. Here I can do like previous tab like I had before, so next and previous is right up here. Right after that, I have my fades. So let's say I want to grab this, and I just want to fade in, and then I can grab at the end here, fade out. I do that all the time as well. and a few other things here. Like if I want to delete, let's say this, I can just delete it. If I want to have just the selection here, what I can do is I can cut this out, and then it's going to open up in a new tab right here, right? So now if I go back to my sound here, it's actually been cut out. If I want to bring it back and just undo, and it's back here, but I also have it now in this new tab here. So that's what this is good for. And then here I have different processing that I have set up here. So one is my EQ, so I can just select it here. I can just select my EQ. It's going to apply the EQ that I already have set up. I don't want that though, so I'm going to leave it there. I can normalize my file. I can add or remove gain here. So this is just to apply the gain. If I want to like see the settings, I can just click right underneath and see the settings for the modules. That's my gain module, my normalized module, my plugin module, which is on my other page here, is there, as well as my spectral noise module, right? So I can just hit apply to these because I already know what they are. I already know what the settings are because they kind of stay the same. So I can just apply them directly to my sound file really quickly. And that's pretty much it. After that, I have my single export. If I just have one sound effect here that I want to export, I can just select all of it here, and it's going to export it without me having to do anything. It's just one button, and then it's just going to export it with and name it exactly the same and go back into the folder exactly how I want it. So that's what this is. If I do 5, what it's going to do is actually going to skip. Once it's done exporting the first one, it's going to go to the next tab, export it, go to the next tab, export, go to the next tab, export until 5 are done, and then yeah, so then those 5 are done. I can do it again if I have more, or just do one at a time. So that's what this is here for. So basically, I don't mess up, or there's no like human error in my exporting or in my design here. Everything is kind of already preset to be exactly the way I want it to be. So that's what this is. And then at the end, what I can do is I can close all my tabs here, which I can do right there with one button, and now everything's closed, and I'm fresh. I can have a fresh plate and restart from fresh. So that's RX, and that's what it looks like. All right, so I hope you found this walkthrough useful and valuable. If there is one tool that's probably helped me to be the most productive over the past couple of years, it's probably been this one. It's pretty rare that you find a tool that helps you increase output, helps you be more efficient, and helps you be more accurate in your work. And when it does all of those things at once, it's kind of a no-brainer, kind of a tool that you want to have as part of your workflow. So if you don't already have one, I highly suggest you check it out. I'll make sure to have links in the description below if you haven't checked it out already and you're interested. But yeah, that's it for now. If you want to see another video that I made about just how to be more efficient in Reaper, especially for sound design. I made a video about 6 Reaper scripts that you can use in your sound design to help you be more effective and efficient in your workflow that just help you create better sound effects. So if you want to see that video, I'll have it either on the screen here or in the cards or in the description below, somewhere on the video. And yeah, thank you so much for sticking all the way through to the end. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And if not, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.